soldiers, trained for war. But nothing could prepare them for what was waiting in the jungle. Strange shadows, unnatural creatures, encounters that left even armed men terrified. Tonight, we'll count down 15 jungle monsters that soldiers claim left them traumatized, from the least frightening to the most disturbing encounter of all. Stay until the end, because number 1 is something you'll never forget. Number 15. They were said to lurk in rivers and swamps, playful at first, but dangerously unpredictable. Japanese folklore calls them kappa, strange amphibian beings with scaly skin, webbed hands, and a hollow on their head filled with water. During World War II, some soldiers stationed in rural Japan reported eerie shapes moving in the water at night. Rumors spread of patrols vanishing near swamps, with locals whispering that the kappa had dragged them below. While many dismissed these creatures as myth, their legends were so persistent that even trained soldiers admitted unease whenever their missions took them past rivers after dark. The idea that an ancient legend could frighten men carrying rifles shows how unsettling the kappa's presence truly was. Number 14. At first, it looked like just another strange shadow by the road. But soldiers and police officers swore it was something else entirely. A humanoid with the body of a man and the face of a frog. Known as the Loveland frogman, this bizarre creature was first reported in Ohio in the 1950s. Decades later, sightings continued, even from armed officers on night patrols. One soldier recalled the fear of seeing glowing eyes staring back at him from the riverbank, the creature standing upright before slipping into the water. Though no physical evidence was ever found, the consistency of the reports and the fact that men trained to stay calm under pressure were left shaken made the frogman one of America's strangest legends. It wasn't deadly, but for those who saw it, the memory was impossible to erase. Number 13. In the vast wilderness of Australia, soldiers on patrol sometimes reported something they could never explain. A towering figure, hairy like an ape, but walking upright like a man. Known as the yowie, this creature has been part of Aboriginal legends for centuries. Modern sightings include accounts from hikers, locals, and even soldiers conducting training in remote bushland. Witnesses describe guttural growls at night, heavy footsteps circling their camps, and sudden glimpses of a massive humanoid vanishing into the trees. Some dismissed it as stress or imagination. But for those who stood guard in the silence of the Australian jungle, the idea that something was watching them from the dark left a fear far deeper than any battlefield. Number 12. Deep in the jungles of Sumatra, patrols reported something unsettling. Not a giant monster, but a small human-like figure covered in hair. This was the orang pendek, a creature said to stand no taller than a child, yet strong enough to bend branches and vanish into the undergrowth. Soldiers and locals alike claimed to see it dart across trails, leaving behind strange footprints. Some patrols even admitted they were more nervous about encountering this elusive being than enemy fighters. To the men who saw it, the most disturbing part was its eyes. Intelligent, observant, as if it were studying them. Was it an undiscovered primate, or something far stranger hiding in the rainforest? For those soldiers, the mystery was enough to haunt their memories long after the mission ended. Number 11. In the swamps of South Carolina, soldiers and locals told stories of a creature unlike anything they had faced before. It was tall, reptilian, with glowing red eyes, and strong enough to tear through metal. Known as the Lizard Man of Scape Ore Swamp, it first made headlines in 1988, when reports described it attacking cars, clawing at steel, and chasing terrified witnesses. Some military personnel sent to investigate dismissed it as hysteria until they saw the shredded vehicles themselves. The idea of a humanoid reptile stalking the swamp was enough to make even armed men uneasy about venturing into the wetlands at night. Whether a cryptid, mutant, or elaborate hoax, one thing was certain. Soldiers learned to treat the swamp with fear because something there seemed ready to fight back. Number 10. In the dense jungles of the Philippines, soldiers on patrol often spoke of a giant that never attacked, but always watched. They called it the kappa, a towering dark figure said to sit high in the trees, smoking, staring down at those below. Military units moving through remote areas claimed they felt its presence, the sound of branches creaking above, the smell of tobacco lingering where no one should have been. Some soldiers swore they locked eyes with the creature, frozen by its massive silhouette before it slipped back into the canopy. Whether spirit, myth, or undiscovered giant, the kappa instilled a chilling thought in every man who entered the jungle. No matter how many weapons they carried, they were the ones being hunted. Number 9. Deep in the Congo, colonial patrols reported something that sounded like it came from prehistory. Villagers spoke of a beast called Mokele Mbembe, a massive long-necked creature that lived in rivers and swamps. Soldiers described trails of broken vegetation, strange bellows at night, and even huge shapes moving beneath the water. Some claimed that entire patrol boats capsized after sudden strikes from below. The descriptions were eerily similar to a living dinosaur, a creature that should have vanished millions of years ago. For the soldiers, the terror wasn't just the size of the beast. It was the realization that the jungle might be hiding something that science said could not exist. And in the darkness of the swamps, they never knew when it would surface again. Number 8. In the jungles of Burma during World War II, British troops known as the Chindits faced more than just enemy soldiers. At night, strange howls echoed through the trees, followed by the sound of heavy movement in the undergrowth. Men reported being stalked by dark figures, too large to be human, yet moving with terrifying stealth. Some patrols claimed their camps were raided, with supplies scattered and sentries left shaken after glimpsing glowing eyes in the dark. The soldiers couldn't explain what was out there, only that it attacked with precision, striking in the hours when fear was at its peak. For men already fighting a brutal war, the jungle itself became another enemy, one they couldn't see and one they could never defeat. Number 7. On remote islands of the Pacific during World War II, Japanese soldiers reported encounters that went far beyond the horrors of combat. While patrolling beaches and hidden coves, they claimed to see massive shapes rising from the sea, creatures with jaws and tentacles that struck without warning. Some accounts describe patrols dragged into the water, never to return. Others spoke of boats being overturned in calm waters, with survivors insisting it wasn't enemy action, but something alive beneath the waves. For soldiers stranded far from home, the ocean was supposed to be an escape route. Instead, it became a hunting ground. To this day, those reports remain buried in archives, half dismissed as stress, half whispered as truth. But for the men who witnessed it, the terror of what surfaced from the deep was very real. Number 6. In the forests of Arizona, stories spread among soldiers on training missions about a towering beast that stalked the trees. They called it the mogollon monster, a creature resembling Bigfoot, with red eyes, foul odor, and a scream that echoed through the canyons. Troops stationed near the mogollon rim reported hearing branches snapping under immense weight, followed by the feeling of being watched. Some claimed to see a massive, hairy figure moving silently between the trees, too fast and too deliberate to be a bear. Even armed soldiers admitted they avoided certain trails at night, unwilling to test whether the legends were true. The mogollon monster wasn't just a campfire story. It was a reminder that the wilderness could hold predators more terrifying than any human enemy. We've already seen legends of frogmen, giants in the trees, and even prehistoric beasts hiding in the rivers. But from here on, the stories grow darker and the encounters far more violent. Number 5. In the Amazon rainforest, Brazilian army patrols reported encounters so disturbing that many refused to talk about them openly. Soldiers claimed that villages along remote rivers were being harassed by strange beings, shadowy figures emerging from the water at night. Men on watch described glowing eyes in the jungle and sudden attacks that left deep scratches and burns on their bodies. Some accounts said gunfire barely scared the creatures away, and victims were left with wounds unlike any normal animal could inflict. What frightened the soldiers most wasn't just the violence. It was the feeling that they were being hunted deliberately. For troops trained to fight human enemies, realizing they were facing something unknown in the jungle was almost too much to bear. Number 4. In the deepest parts of the Amazon, soldiers and explorers told stories of a creature that smelled of death before it was ever seen. They called it the mapinguari, a monstrous beast described as a towering, sloth-like animal with a single eye and a gaping mouth in its stomach. Patrols moving through the rainforest claimed the stench alone was enough to make them sick, followed by the sound of heavy footsteps crashing through the trees. Some soldiers swore they saw it tear down trees with its massive claws, while others fled at the sight of its grotesque, unnatural body. Even if exaggerated, the terror was real. Hardened men armed with rifles admitted that they felt powerless against something that seemed more like a nightmare than an animal. In the Amazon, they feared the jungle itself could come alive to devour them. Number 3. In the jungles of India and Burma, soldiers spoke of something far older than any legend. They called them naga, giant serpent-like beings, sometimes described with human faces, other times as towering cobras that could stand upright. Patrols reported glimpsing enormous shapes moving through rivers, too massive to be ordinary snakes. Some accounts even claimed soldiers were attacked, their boats overturned by something rising suddenly from beneath the water. To locals, the naga were guardians of sacred places. To soldiers, they were monsters that stalked rivers and struck without warning. The idea that such creatures might exist in the dense, unexplored jungles left many convinced that the naga were not myth, but a threat that could still be waiting in the dark waters. Number 2. In Vietnam, some soldiers feared an enemy they couldn't even identify. They called them the jungle stalkers, figures described as humanoid, green-skinned, with glowing eyes that watched from the trees. Patrols reported being followed for miles, hearing whispers and footsteps just beyond the reach of their flashlights. Sometimes, men vanished in the night without a sound, leaving their comrades convinced something had taken them. Official reports never mentioned these beings, but soldiers whispered about them for years after the war. Whether hallucinations born from stress or something truly inhuman, the stalkers left a mark of terror deeper than any battle. Because in the jungle, the enemy wasn't always another soldier. It was something else entirely. We've seen frogmen, reptilian beasts, and even creatures that seem pulled from ancient myths. But nothing compares to the accounts of soldiers who swore they weren't just stalked. They were attacked. Number 1. During the Vietnam War, American troops faced an enemy unlike anything in their training manuals. They called them rock apes, large muscular creatures covered in reddish hair, standing like men, but with the strength of gorillas. Patrols reported entire groups of these beings hurling stones, charging camps, and even injuring soldiers. Gunfire sometimes scattered them, but not always. And the encounters grew so frequent that some units logged official reports. The most terrifying detail? These weren't just fleeting shadows. Soldiers saw them clearly, fought against them, and carried the fear of those nights for the rest of their lives. In a war already filled with horror, the rock apes became a nightmare within a nightmare, proof that the jungle itself could turn against you.